Hi, welcome and welcome back to part two of the series of understanding how to get back into creative flow and expanding our creative capacity. So, if you've tried resting, if you've tried setting boundaries, you were treating the symptoms and not the cause. And the cause is a dysregulated nervous system. And you can't think your way out of a dysregulated nervous system. You have to connect with your body and work with it and the signals that it's sending you. And this is setting the foundation. If you skip these, nothing else will work. And so we want to think about these pillars as these layers that we're setting down as a foundation to keep expanding. So in the first video, I want to give you a quick recap. We talked about the difference between survival mode, which is forced and it depletes you, as opposed to source creation, which is where we're in flow, we are open to our intuition, and we have a sustainable creative practice. And so in that video, we looked at the differences between the two and the bridge of how to go out of survival mode and into source creation. And the key factor was the nervous system. And in order for us to regulate our nervous system, there are four pillars that we need to address, which is our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. We went over physical, grounding your body, mental, calming your mind. We went over emotional, processing your feelings. And then we went over spiritual, accessing your intuition. And so in this video, we're going to go a little bit deeper into the physical and the mental. As basic as this is key to building the foundation so that you have a sustainable practice and we never, ever have to deal with burnout again. It is a possibility to have a life that is fully in creative excellence and still prosper decades down the line, knowing the signals of burnout. So we're going to start with the most basic pillar. It's mostly overlooked, which is our physical. And so most creatives tend to live in their head. They're thinking, they're strategizing, they're problem solving all day, and their mind is always on. But your body tends to get ignored. You might sit in front of your computer or a desk for 10 to 8 hours a day. You might skip meals because you feel like you're in flow and you don't want to break your concentration. And you don't move your body and your back hurts and your neck is stiff. And then you wonder why you're anxious and you can't stay focused. Here's what's happening. Your body doesn't feel safe. And when you're disconnected from your nervous system and reading the signals and bypassing them, your body interprets that, your nervous system interprets that as a threat signal. It's feeling as though it's not grounded, it's not stable, it's not safe, and there's something wrong. And so if we don't understand or pick up those signals or ignore them, they heighten, or we don't understand what's happening or how to fix that at a deeper core level. So when your nervous system feels like something is wrong, it's going to stay in that threat response. And this means you're creating in survival mode. Physical grounding is the foundation of nervous system regulation. Your body needs to feel stable. It needs to feel nurtured, grounded, and balanced. It needs to feel safe, secure, and not chaotic. And you need to feel that you have resources available, that you have what you need, and you'll know you'll make it work no matter what. And so when our body feels grounded, the nervous system can relax. It can stop scanning for threats and signals. And instead, the body feels safe, relaxed, and that you're able to create from this place. So how do you ground your body? And it's actually a lot simpler than you think. Most creatives skip this because it's so basic. Here are three ways to physically ground yourself. Think of these as three principles to the pillar of physical. The first one is move your body. It doesn't have to be a workout. We're not training for a marathon or the Ironman. I just want you to move. And there's so many benefits to this. Think about walking, stretching, dancing, putting on your favorite soundtrack and moving around and shaking your body. Your heart gets pumping. You're able to move energy through the body. You're able to process your thoughts. You're able to process your emotion. This is the biggest benefit across all of them. This pillar hits all the pillars. And so if we forget about this, we're going to have a harder time clearing our minds and processing our emotions and connecting to something much bigger than ourselves if we don't physically move the energy in the body. It just has so many benefits. And so energy needs to flow through the body on a daily basis. You have to move your body. I work out 7 days a week, sometimes six, but 7 days a week in hot yoga to really practice breathing, to stretch, to get flexible, to be mobile. But really, it's a practice of getting out of my head and getting into my body so that I'm able to move through things so much faster. And this life-changing standard that I put for myself has made a world of difference. If there was ever anything, it was just having something. And if I can't go to yoga, which is rare, I can go for a walk. I can go and do things or move around. But I understand how important it is to get the flow. This is literally, it's all energy. So we really just want to get the flow in the body moving and not just sit still and static. And this is what happens to our creativity. It gets static, it gets stuck, and it gets still. So when you move your body and you're flowing and you're having a good time and you're enjoying what you're doing, you're signaling to the body that it's safe and it's secure and that you're connecting to your nervous system because you're feeling what's going on in your body. You're more attentive to it because it's you in that moment and there's nothing else distracting you. And you start to feel that you're alive and that you're in your body and you're in the present moment. And that is the key essence of any creativity, is understanding that life flow, the breath of life, those moments, the way the heart beats, the way the pulse moves, the energy around this expression of creativity is in the basicness of moving and physicality. And so my recommendation, I think it's worthwhile that you move 20 to 30 minutes every day, whatever that is, and that it's something that you enjoy doing. There's so many things out there. You should always find something that you enjoy. Hula hooping, roller skating, it doesn't really matter. At best, put on your headphones and find an old album that you used to love listening to and shake around and literally dance like nobody's watching. Game changer. You get stuck with an idea, shake your booty. Shake your booty. Number two is to ground yourself before you create. Before you sit down and do work, take a 2-minute practice to ground yourself. I'm going to show you what that's about. You want to sit in a desk, and I want to give you some like basic instructions. So you're sitting at your desk, like I'm sitting right here. You want to make sure that your feet are grounded on the ground. You need to touch the ground, no matter where you're at. It helps the body signal that it's safe by a physical touch, that your feet are grounded and connecting to the earth. And then you want to feel the weight of your body, the physicality, the texture. You want to feel yourself in the chair. And we want to start to bring ourselves into a present moment. And then you can start noticing like how your bones are sitting, how your muscles are relaxed. Are they starting to get tense? And you can start to visualize different elements in your body, like tuning to your mind and starting to relax. And starting to get into this kind of extra space, this sweet space. And so as you press your feet on the ground, take 3 deep breaths. And you usually want to do an inhale on a count of 4, exhale, count to 4. And then just say to yourself, I'm held, I am safe, I am stable. And just feel yourself that you're grounded here, you're in your body, and you're right here in this moment. And this signals to your nervous system, the ground is here, I'm in my body, and I'm safe right now at this moment. And it seems really basic, and you may not feel that there's an extra threat out in the world. This is so that we can pull our energy, our focus, and our attention connected to our mind, body, and spirit into one in this very simple fact. Do this every time you are about to create or do any sort of work. Connect with yourself for 2 minutes silently. No one has to know what's going on. And then just see, pay attention, observe what changes in you, what happens to your body, what happens to your mind, what happens to your attention span and your focus, and start noticing the difference. Start observing what's going on in your body. And so the third physical technique I want to offer up is to get into supportive environment. Your physical environment affects your nervous system. And if you're in a toxic environment at work, you need to find other places where you can be yourself, relax, where it's not always private and you're hiding from someone when you get home and you can kind of unwind. But you need to be in a place. You need to find secure and safe places where you can be open, you can be yourself, and you don't feel like you have to be on alert or defensive. So we want to start edging into areas so that you're not always in this heightened state of fight or flight, threat response, on the defense. And we want to ease the tension in the body, ease the stress. So finding other groups and other ways and communities that you can have support is going to absolutely help you shift from survival mode into that source creation. This is just the basic way. We need to make sure that our environment feels safe to us so that we feel safe to create and express ourselves because those are vulnerability. And really check and see. You may not have thought about your work environment or certain areas in your personal life as chaotic, but take a look to see, does the place that you're in feel calm, clean, orderly? You know what's predictable in that space as opposed to something that's chaotic, traumatic, toxic, or something where you just never know what's going to come through the doors. And so ask yourself, does my workplace feel safe and supportive? Am I spending time in nature regularly? Am I in environments that drain me or they energize me? Your environment matters way more than you. And so this all covers the physical pillar, not only what we're doing in our body and moving our body, but where we're putting our body. What spaces are we allowing ourselves to be in? And we have to be really attentive to understanding, is this a good space for me? Or am I always on alert? That's not helping me grow or strive. It's creating more stress in this very subtle way. You need to pick up on it. So move your body, ground yourself before creating, choose supported environments. This is the foundation. Without this, the other pillars won't work as well. So this is the baseline that we want to start with. So now we're going to move on to the second pillar, which is our mental clarity. The problem with creativity is that our mind never wants to stop. We always want to be thinking, imagining, intuiting, problem solving, planning, ideating. Even when you're resting, even when you're resting, your mind is still running. Your mind is still thinking, running scenarios through your head, how conversations played out, worrying about deadlines and details, anxious about what's coming in the future. And all of this, to some degree, is normal. But when we excessively stay into this running mindset, we're actually depleting ourselves. And we just think that this is just the life of creatives. We're always on, we're always inspired, we're always thinking, we always want this influx of creativity and motion to happen. And we always think we need to be doing. And so we think this is just how it should be. This is the life. This is what I've chosen. This is my calling. I need to always be on. And in fact, that's not true. In fact, it's the times where you're not thinking about anything, or you're really quiet and you're still, and you have those peaceful moments, but it's not. So this is a sign of a dysregulated system. When your nervous system is dysregulated, your thoughts become spinning, racing, they can't slow down. They're anxious, they're catastrophic. You feel like worst case scenario is just going to happen. Second guessing all the time, doubting every decision before you make it, during the process of deciding, and then after you've made it. Everything feels urgent. Everything feels like an emergency. Everything has the opportunity to pull your attention away from what you're doing. And this is your logical mind in survival mode. This is your logical mind taking the reins, needing to make the plans, needing to control everything, needing to make sure everything's done a certain way. And there isn't an ease, and there isn't a level point, because you feel like you have to be on. And so when our logical mind is in this, it always has to make plans and take actions. It's trying to protect you to stay vigilant, because there's other things that are going on, possibly emotional, possibly some self-identity work. And there's a certain place where we have to discern about what is normal for the creative process, and then what is a little bit excessive and a little bit obsessive. I have a problem with obsession and using that as a catalyst for creatives to go full force into what they're doing. You can be obsessed with things, but you also have to not be so obsessed. And so your logical mind is actually hijacking creativity, because the ego wants to feel in control. And it's really difficult for us to take a step back and just allow a process to happen. If ideas don't come through right away, you know that they're going to come through, and it's not push or force. And to allow the space for the mind to be open to receive things that it might not normally, or to allow yourself to wander into different ideas, into different interests, so that something might pop up that you would have never expected, that just solved the problem, answered the question, or just gave you some whole new idea that you haven't thought of. Because we want to control even the way we think, or how we even think about things that we need to do, where we might be too focused on trying to stay on schedule, have a rigid plan, and we don't allow for the sweetness of it to enter. This is my own advice to myself. So when your mind is spinning and it's overactive and too fragmented, thinking about too many things in different places, it's very difficult to access creativity. It's very, very difficult to access clarity, intuition, to stay in flow, and to really have an open expression. Because the logical mind might be shutting things down. The logical mind might be saying, no, we got to go this way. This is the tried and true way. This is what everyone says, when something else is go in another direction. And so it's understanding how to clear the mind so that you can let the intuition come in, let the creative flow come through, let the self-expression be open and not hindered. And so we tend to get stuck in our heads, and we can't create from source if we're stuck in our heads. So how do we calm the mind? It's not by only thinking positive thoughts. It's not by certain affirmations. It's not by trying to control the thoughts that come in, trying to stay busy so that we're only focused on certain things. We want to regulate the nervous system by understanding how we can actually relax our mind. This is also a huge piece of stress and knowing when to let the thoughts go through or when it's worth our time to hold on to them and to investigate further. So I want to offer up a couple techniques on how to work with your mental pillar and expand your awareness so that you can really decipher and discern what's happening inside. We want to practice conscious awareness. We want to understand our thoughts and not control them. We all know you can't control the first thought that comes into your mind, but you can choose whether you want to follow that thought to the next thought. And this is the place we want to be. We want to be in this observant place, especially when we're trying to ground ourselves before work or if we're in the middle of work. And so here's the practice. Notice when the thought appears. Don't judge it. Don't try to stop it. Just notice it. Observe it. And then ask yourself, is this serving me right now? Does this serve any purpose in what I'm doing? Or is this something I need to address? And if the answer is yes, then you follow it. If the answer is no, you put it away. You let it pass. And then you return back to yourself, return back to your focus, return back to your breath, return back to your attention, wherever you want to put it. So this is not about positive thinking. We're not trying to control anything. We just want to be hyper aware about what's happening in our mental landscape so that when thoughts come through, we can decide, the self-doubt right now isn't serving me because I really want to finish this. I really want to get this done. And I know what that's all about. So I can just let that pass. And it's okay if it flew through in the first time. There's like a monkey mind. There's like a dark matter in the mind. And the stuff just flies in. Stuff from 20 years ago will fly in. You're in charge of your mind. And you can decide if that's something to pursue or something to just let pass. Like your mind is the sky and thoughts are clouds that just pass through. So it's up to you how you want to hold. And the more you practice noticing your thoughts without attaching to them at all, the less power they have over you. And the less power those thoughts have over you, the more you realize that you can direct them wherever you want and it doesn't pull you. This is how we get our power back. When we talk about getting our power back, it gets kind of overused. It is specifically this practice where we're deciding as co-creators what and where we want to give our attention to. Period. It's not serving you right now. It needs to go. Bye. You have other things to do. You are a creative. You have things to create. You have things to experience in life. We don't have time for that. So as a practice, you can also build this in with the grounding. At any point in time, when you feel like there's a flood of stuff coming in, take 5 minutes and just really be aware of what's happening. And if you do this every day, if you have this little practice, this is really great if you make coffee in the morning and you can just sit with your thoughts, or again, right before you're about to work and you start grounding yourself, take a few minutes to just really clear your mind and just notice what comes through. This is not about meditation. This is not trying to wipe the slate clean where you don't have any thoughts, because that's very difficult and that takes a very high level practice. But we really just want to start with what's coming through and just let them go. And then it'll be quiet. And then maybe another thought comes through and we let them go. And we just observe. And the practice is detachment, because there will be times where you might get certain comments said to you, certain feedback on projects, and they're like little earworms. And you want to make sure that the thoughts you're saying to yourself serve you, and they're not somebody else's opinions playing as a record in your head. And so we know the difference between the two. And we know when they come in, but I don't think like that about myself, or that's not something I need to really entertain right now. You have discernment, and now you can take that energy and put it somewhere else. Take that attention and put it somewhere else. So the next technique is to differentiate your thoughts. Let's add a temperature to the thought. Is it a hot air thought or a cold air thought? So what is a hot air thought? What is this? So I want you to think about energy having texture to it, having attributes to it. So when you have thoughts, which they do have weight to them, and they're an electrical pulse that are synapses running into your mind. And we know through neuroscience, we can change our mind and change our thoughts. So this is just kind of a fun way, a visual cue to think about when your thoughts are coming through. A hot air thought might be when you're really anxious, when your thoughts are starting to spin and they start getting momentum of stuff going on, or you feel this urgency, this like alarm that kind of happens, like I got to do this thing. Thoughts like, this has to be perfect. What if they hate it? I'm running out of time. And you can start to feel, if you have ever had those thoughts, a charge. They're kind of electric, they're kind of intensifying. And when the mind hooks into those thoughts, the body starts following right along. The heartbeat starts going, there's panic in the chest. And all of a sudden, we start to get into this episode. I have panic attacks, I get anxiety. So I understand this feeling, and it's just this spiral that starts to happen that we get in. And so we want to understand when those thoughts come through that they're kind of hot and maybe that we need to cool them down a little bit. We need to get them a little bit more neutral. And so we have to look at, what is that thought trying to tell me right now? Am I putting too much pressure on myself? Do I have too many obligations right now? Am I just worried about something that I don't have any control over? And I start to come back to myself, to the present moment, to where I'm at, to what I'm doing, to what I can do. And this is how we start to regulate the nervous system and get back into whatever it is that we want to get back into. And we want to start moving out of survival mode little by little. It's a daily practice, and it's every time something comes in, we have a choice to make. And so we get to decide every single time, what choice are we going to make today? What am I going to make in this situation right now, with these things coming through me, with these thoughts in my head? What decision am I going to make? How do I want to use my energy? So the next thought is a cold air thought. So we have a hot, we have a cold, and the cold is kind of what it sounds like. It's heavy. Thoughts feel heavy. They feel kind of slow. They feel depleted. They drag you down. They have weight to them. So things like, why should I even bother with this? It doesn't even matter. I'm not good enough anyway. All right, this is the other side of self-doubt. This is the woes and the worries. So we have the anxiousness that's kind of hot, and we have the worry and the woes in the cold. And so both of these show us that we're neither in the present moment, because we're either reflecting on the past or worried about the future, anxious about what's to come. And these are both in survival mode because we're never really present about what we're doing at the moment. We're somewhere occupied in a different space and time. So in either past or the future. And what this does to the nervous system is it gives us in this threatened fight or flight freeze mode, because we're stuck in a spot in a time frame that we can't really work with. The only thing we can work with is the present moment. And so we get stuck in that spot. We're in the present moment thinking about the future, in the present moment thinking about the future, and we're not actually moving forward, or we're thinking about the past in the present moment, thinking about the past in the present moment. So it's pulling us back into maybe old behaviors, old ways that we used to be, old thoughts that we don't really need to have anymore. And again, this is all about first just observing the types of thoughts, giving it a temperature, understanding it. We're understanding who we are, how we are in the world. And so on this temperature scale, of course, we need to have, what's the middle ground? What's the balance? So what we want to get to in our cold and hot is somewhere in the middle. We want to have mild thoughts. We want to have calm air thoughts. Now, this isn't to say that you're never going to have a hot thought or never have a cold thought. The idea here is that when you get really hot or really cold, that you can bring it into center and cool it down. Lukewarm, something of room temperature, right? We want to be in this room temperature. Not that we're boring. We can always be spicy, but we want to know how we can get ourselves back to that sweet spot. And so these thoughts that come through the mind are the clear thoughts, the grounded thoughts, the steady thoughts. I know what to do. I trust the process. I'm capable. I may not have all the answers, but I know I have resources, or I will find a way. So when the hot thought comes in, we add a little cool. When the cool thought comes in, we add a little heat, and we try and get it into that balanced state of, yes, I know that there are pressures in life. Yes, I have deadlines. Yes, there are things that I have not figured out yet. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm still going to move forward because the knowing is deep, and I trust the process, and I'm smart enough, and I know I can move through it. And so that simple shift of I can feel that strength. You could probably hear it in my voice, and I can ground myself no matter what situation I'm in, no matter what toxic environment you're in. You can ground yourself and you can rise above it, and then figure out what it is that you need to do, whether you stay there, you shift, you move, or it just passes. And so this is the best spot, because we're never in survival mode if we know how to ground ourselves and we know how to place the thoughts in the right place. To place the thoughts in the right place, yes. So as we build on this practice, whenever you can remember to observe your thoughts, observe them. Before you have a knee-jerk reaction or you take action in a thought, if you start to feel stuck, take a moment, get a temperature check. Where are you? What do you need to do next? What is this really telling you? There's a deeper part of you that's in control, that's getting to decide this creation. Take on the identity. You are a creator and you create everything in your life, even how you leverage your mind and where you want to put your thoughts and where you want to put your energy. And so this practice is vital. Last technique I want to share with you for mental, create mental space before and after work. So most of us go from our emails to our laptop to a project, back to an email, back to a device. Our mental is fragmented left and right, upside down, three ways on Sunday. And so we don't really have a buffer. We're not transitioning from one state to another. And we're not giving ourselves that mental space. Think of this as like a palate cleanse, will you? Where we need to get in the zone. Before we can be in the zone, we have to get prepared to be in the zone. If you ever read any spiritual texts or have heard of anybody in a religious or spiritual context, they're always preparing before any sort of ritual. There's devotion prayers, there's a way that you adorn yourself, you change your clothes, you get prepared before you connect to something greater than you. And if we really look at creativity and creating as a sacred act, these are preparation steps so that you're always an open vessel and an open conduit and ready for source creation to come through you. And you're just an instrument for it. But you have to make sure that your instrument is clean, is precise, is well tuned to allow that creative flow to come through. So give yourself a transition, give yourself the mental space, the clear space to put something down, put it away, and then move into the creative work. And that is calming your mind, getting all of your focus and attention right back to you, pulling all of that. That's literally pulling your energy back in and then allowing it to go in the direction you want it to go. So here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to start a little ritual before you create and after you create. So before you create, I want you to do that 2-minute grounding technique we talked about in Pillar 1. And then for a minute within that grounding technique, think about and set an intention. What am I creating today? What is my focus and what is my intention? And then close all distractions, email, Slack, phone, whatever it is. Just give yourself that dedicated time and space. And then when you're done creating, do the same thing again. 2-minute body scan. How do I feel? 1-minute reflection. What did I learn? What worked? And then you close the work, you close the session mentally and physically, and you put the work away. And so this starts to create a container for your creative work. You're honoring the time that you're giving to yourself and to this work and to the channel that you are of creating in this source creation flow and this creative flow. And so by doing these little techniques, by grounding yourself and setting an intention, you're literally signaling to your body, we're safe, we're connected, and we're ready to work. We're ready to commune. We're ready to ideate, whatever it is at that moment. And then when you close it, you're honoring the insights you have, the intuition that's coming through. You might even say thank you because you're grateful for the opportunity to have that moment with yourself, with time, with space, with connection, with source creation, with being in a flow. And so your body starts to learn when we do these little tiny techniques, when we focus in on our breathing, when we get centered in our intention, our nervous system regulates. So even if everything else is chaotic around us, we're cool, calm, and collected. We're grounded, we're centered, we're balanced, and we're nurturing ourselves, and we're honoring the whole process. And see the difference. Try this out. Little tiny things. If you're in a public space when you work, nobody has to know that you're doing anything more than just sitting in front of your computer, but take that time for yourself and really honor just this process and see how much more focused you are, how much different your body feels, and see how this evolves over time. Keep track of what it is that you're noticing and the changes in your body. So that's Pillar 2, mental clarity. We want to practice thought awareness, conscious awareness. We want to understand the texture of the thoughts. We want to understand the temperature of the thoughts. And we want to create mental space around our work. And when you calm your mind, you stop creating from anxious spinning thoughts and you start creating from clarity. So here's the really important part. These two pillars work together in tandem. They work together to help regulate each other. When you're physical, the body is moving, the energy is flowing, the blood flow is pumping the heart, and your mind is actually shutting off for a little bit and it's connecting to your body, how you're breathing. if you're sweating, if you're moving, if you're having a good time, and we get really into the present moment. And then the same thing works with the mental. So, for example, if you sit down to work and your mind is racing with anxious thoughts, instead of trying to calm your thoughts or think calm thoughts, go into your body first. Start with the grounding. So, you put your feet on the floor, you take deep breaths, you press into the ground, you focus on the breathing, and you center yourself within, and you be in the present moment, and your body will start regulating. Your mind will naturally calm down as a result of you grounding your body. Or if you're sitting at your desk, scattered and unfocused, instead of focusing on your work, practice thought awareness. So notice the thoughts, let them pass through, return to your breath, collect your thoughts back to yourself, feel your body in your chair, focus on your breathing, let your mind settle, and your body will follow. So the physical pillar will ground you, the mental pillar opens you up and clarifies you. Together, they create the foundation for nervous system regulation. Okay, so here's what I would love you to do. I would absolutely love this. Is to practice this. Practice this for the next 5 days and notice the change in your creative flow. And then come back to the next video where we're going to go over the emotional flow and the spiritual intuition. So we're going to keep layering these two and we're going to build a solid foundation so that we know how to get back to ourselves and not burn out. And we stay in that creative flow. Because once you've grounded yourself, you feel safe and secure, and you've calmed your mind, you're ready for deeper work. This is where we go from surface, superficial work, survival mode work. I've been there. This is years of being in this space. And then making these little tiny internal changes and physical changes, but mostly internal changes to have deeper work, deeper meaning, deeper purpose, deeper fulfillment and satisfaction that may not be shown to the rest of the world, but I feel that, and you will feel this as well. And so this creates the longevity of creating. Last thought, you can't regulate your nervous system by thinking about it. It's a twofer. You got to do them both. And you have to work with your body and your mind and start paying attention to the signals that your body is giving you, especially if you have been in burnout before. You know what it feels like. We got to pay attention to what's going on. We got to pay attention to when we have the frustrating thoughts, the angry thoughts, the things that are coming through, and just get to the root of it and understand how to get back to ourselves, even if we can't change the situation right at the moment. Ground into yourself physically, figure out what it is that you need to do to move your body around, calm your mind into the present moment. It's the fastest way you can get there to get clarity is be in the present moment and really take notice of what's going on. And then focus on your breath. Breathing is the source of life. And if you do those 3 things at any given time where you feel stress, you will start to calm down. Not that I'm telling you to calm down, but you're going to start calming down in your nervous system. And that's the most important part. These are the 2 main foundational pillars. Without them, rest won't work, self-care won't work. This is understanding the rest, and this is understanding the self-care. And we get out of this survival limiting mode, limiting belief mode. Let me know in the comments below, which pillar do you have the hardest time with, physical or mental? And if there's anything else I can offer to add, I'll do so in another video. Let me know. I will see you in video 3 where we go over emotional and spiritual. Until then, ground your body, calm your mind, focus on your breathing, and get back into your creative source flow. Thank you all for being here. I love you all. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.